Phew, almost done, almost done. Thank God, because it's quite hot in here. Here in the UK we're going through a bit of a heat wave. It's now about, I think it's 31 degrees outside, which is hot for the UK. And in here it's probably even hotter. But anyway, I'm just doing a little bit because it's too hot to do too much. And what I've done is I've cut down these two brackets which hold the headlamp in place. So this is the bit I've cut off, and we'll see how they fit. Just got to drill them, and then we'll see how they look on the bike. Okay, so there's a second pallet hole. Now we'll take them out to, I think it's about 6.5mm, and we can try it out on the bike. And so now here, those brackets back on the forks again, and I must say it does look a lot better. And in fact, I've got here a piece I cut off, and so you can see the difference between how it was and how it is now. And so moving on then, I've now got the Mark II version of the footrest hangers. These plates have been remade because the first time round I got it wrong and I placed the peg height too low. So these are brand new plates that have been cut out and drilled. Just brought them back home to check that they fit on the bike okay, which they do, which is good. And also what we've done already is, I'm not sure you can tell, but we've countersunk these bolt holes so that when the socket head is inside, it sits a bit more flush. In fact, let me give it a close-up and I can show you that in detail. And so here we have the 10mm plate that will become the footrest hanger for the gear change side of the bike. It's been drilled already with 3 holes, one for the foot peg, and these 2 are for bolting it to the frame. And these 2 have been countersunk already. That way, these cap heads won't stand out quite so much when it's on the bike. And in fact, we'll go another step further by machining down these cap heads so they only just protrude from the aluminium plate. Just makes it look a bit neater. And so the next step, having drilled and checked these plates, is to take them back to Jeff's workshop, where he's going to shape them into what we need on his miller, and that'll be in a few days' time. So now let's move on to something else. And that something else arrived just now, about an hour ago, in this little box here. And in this box is a few quite expensive parts. Altogether, it's about £490 worth. And in here we've got the instrument pod, combined tacho, speedo and all the idiot lights. Then we've got something I've not tried before, which is this thing. And this is the speed sensor for the pod, and this works via GPS, would you believe. So there's no need to have any cables or any wiring going down to the front wheel or the back wheel, because in the different bikes I've built using something similar, I've always used a wire which has a sensor on the end with a magnet that you attach to the front wheel. But without that, cleans up the front end and use this thing instead. Now, the sort of standard magnet type sensor is about £25. This thing is 80 odd pounds, so it's quite a bit more expensive, but hopefully it's be reliable and it's quite high tech. Never used one before, so I'll be quite interested to see how it works on the bike. And of course we can hide this box away somewhere where maybe you can't see it. Let's see, under the tank maybe, something like that, so that's good. And then finally I've got 2 boxes with the same part inside, and these are from Motor Gadget, the German company, and they also make of course the M unit which drives the whole wiring system on the bike. I've used them before and they're very good. And what we have here are these, let's see, they're called momentary contact switches. These are handlebar switches, and the ones I've had before have all been silver, polished silver or polished aluminium. These are black, little polished highlights, and that'll match up with the black and silver finish I want to go for the bike. In fact, let me zoom in a bit and you'll see how they look close up. Okay, so now here we have the 80mm instrument pod. You've got the tacho there, and also the speedo is shown as a readout on this LCD screen here, along with a resettable trip and so on. You've also got all the idiot lights down at the bottom. Then we've got this thing. This is the very expensive switch gear for the bike. I've got 2 of them, of course. Got 3 switches. They're quite nice. You can clicking away there. And these are called momentary contact switches, which work very well with the M unit, of course, because they're made to work together. And what they can do is, you can have one switch, this one here for example, that can operate the lights off and on and high beam, low beam with the same switch, which is quite clever. So I've got 2 of those to get 6 switches, which is more than enough since they do more than one job at the same time. And as I say, I went for the black with the polished highlights because it will suit the black handlebars and the black and polished finish I'm going for on the bike. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. As I say, not cheap. This was about £180. These are 117 each, which is a hell of a lot of money. But one reason I get them is because they come complete with the wiring pre-installed, which is not the case with other similar switches. And I did buy some a while ago, and I had a hell of a job trying to wire it up. I mean, it's such a tight space in there, so I thought, right, not doing that again. We'll just go for these in future. And as I say, the GPS unit here, that's about £80, which goes with the Daytona Speedo Taco unit. Yes, that's that. Can't wait to see that on the bike, but I think we'll have to wait a little while yet. And so, having opened the box for the Taco Speedo, here it is. It's quite slim. It's got 2 control buttons on the back that you press to reset it and also set it up the first time round. And it's also got its 2 mounting holes here. And the box provides you with this little chrome bracket, which goes something like that. And then you can attach this to wherever you like. However, on the bike, I don't want to use that chrome bracket. I'll make something else instead, which will position the Speedo something like that. And I think what we'll do is we'll use the holes we've already got made in the yokes for these risers, and we'll take a bracket off them. That way we don't have to drill any more holes in the yokes. And so next I fitted the lamp and its chrome bezel. I just want to see how this fits with the fairing in place, because I suspect it will fit better. But let's see. And yeah, that's a bit better, isn't it? It should go something like that. Now, the handlebars are now touching the bottom of the fairing, but I think we can tilt it back a bit like that and it should be a bit better. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. What do you think? Yeah, pretty good. Right, so with that sorted out, it means I don't have to cut up this fiberglass anymore. It all seems to fit as is, which is a great relief. So let's take it off there now and put it somewhere safe, and we'll move on to something else. And now it's a Sunday, and tomorrow I'll be taking these wheels for a new pair of tyres. So I've removed the swing arm from the bike, and I'm about to remove the wheel from the swing arm. And once that's done, I'm going to have a try at fitting the spacers and bearings into the swing arm for the first time. And that could be a problem because this swing arm's been narrowed down by about 20 to 30 millimeters. I'm not quite sure, and that might mean that the spacer doesn't fit or one of the bearings doesn't fit. We don't know yet. But anyway, I'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So for now, I'll just crack on and remove this wheel from the swing arm. And so moving on then, first of all, I've got this used paint protector that lives on this side of the swing arm to protect the paint from the chain. And I think it probably doesn't fit quite right because this side's been cut down, so I can't really use that. I might be able to use it when we get the spacers made to take up the gap between this swing arm and the widened frame, but we'll see. So anyway, moving on then, on this side, on the drive side, we've got one roller bearing that lives in here. That shouldn't be a problem, and that's retained by a big old 42mm circlip. Again, not a problem. And I think what I'll do with that is I'll pop this bearing in the freezer for an hour or two so it drops in a lot easier. That's also a good tip. I've then got this inner sleeve spacer. It's actually a used one. I got this off Les. Thanks, Les. So that can go in soon. And then the tricky bit is on the other side of the swing arm. So let's turn it over. And that's because, as I say, this swing arm's been machined down a wee bit, and I'm not quite sure how much. But looking on this here, there's a ridge inside to stop the bearings moving, which is fine. And if I measure that gap, we've got about, let me see, yeah, it's about 39.7, so I'll call it 40mm thereabouts. And the question is, how thick, how wide are the bearings that sit in here? And I say bearings because there are 2 of them, and what they are 2 needle roller bearings. I've got a fat one and a thin one, and the fat one is 24mm and the thin one is about 16.5. So it's close, but I think if I put both in, one of these will stick out by about 1mm. And the question is that a big problem or not? And I thought about it, and I think it won't be, because when we make the spaces that go between this and the frame, we can make it so that they sit snug over that 1 mm of bearing that sticks out from the swing arm. But even if that didn't work, it wouldn't be the end of the world, because the ZRX 1100 that came before this one, that only had 1 needle roller bearing on this side. So I suppose when they made a 1200 they wanted to beef it up a bit and they did this extra bearing. You can tell because they're so different in size. But I think I might just get away with that. I might just get away with it. Then I've got a dust shield here, I've got a couple of oil seals in here, not really a problem. So I think we might just get away with that, which is a great relief. So what I'll do now is, as I say, I'll pop these bearings, all of them, in a little bag and pop it in the freezer for an hour or two, and then I'll come back later on. And now here we are, it's an hour later, and those bearings have been in the freezer for an hour, so I've quickly brought them out here, and I've got in the first one, went in no problem. That's the roller bearing on this side, went in without any problems, and in fact I used this quite large socket to hammer it in, because this is the correct size to knock it in by just touching the outer ring of the bearing, because you don't want to be hitting the inner ring because you'll damage the bearing. So that's quite a handy tip if you've not done it before. Find a suitable sized socket. Hopefully you've got a few different sizes and you'll hopefully find one that's just right. So that's done. On the other side, the tricky side of the needle roller bearings, I've got the larger one in now, and it's in, and I must say there's not a lot of room for the second bearing to go in, so I think I'll just have to go with a single bearing. I've got to take into account that this side, in fact both sides, need seals, and this one on this side has a two-part seal. As you can see, this first one sits inside like that, and then this one sits on top, and again you need a bit of recess for that, and so there's no more room for that second bearing to go in there. And that's not the end of the world, because as I mentioned before, the ZRX 11 version of the swing arm only had one needle roller bearing, so it's not the end of the world. So moving on then, I've been a bit busy and I've been cleaning up this pair of forks here. Now these forks were a way to be stripped down and rebuilt with new seals, new oil, and having these lowers powder coated, but everyone's really busy now, so I really don't want to wait anymore. I want to get these forks on the bike, get the front wheel on the bike, and get the thing on its wheels. So I brought them back and I've made a start. I've masked off the stanchion, and now I'm cleaning up this lower fork leg here, removing all the oil, all the grit and so on, and it is a bit mucky. I've also of course got to roughen it all up ready for the undercoat. So I've been using, amongst other things, white spirit, white brushes, wet and dry of various grades, and it's just really boring. But I'm almost there now, I've done this one, I've then got to do the other one. So we'll come back when these are both prepped up and ready for spraying, and I think that'll be tomorrow now because it's getting quite late. And now it really is getting quite late, it's gone 9 PM. But I've come back into my workshop with a cup of tea of course to just finish off a few jobs ready for tomorrow. So what I'd like to do is get at least the etched primer on these foot legs before tomorrow, because it needs about 24 hours to harden off before you can paint the satin black on top. But while I'm here, I thought I'd just do a sort of PS on the day, because today's been one of them days where everything goes wrong. And oftentimes I don't tell you about the sort of things that go wrong, we just sort of skip over all that and you never ever see it. But I thought it's been such an annoying, frustrating day, and I've made not one, not two, but 3 stupid mistakes in about a 2-hour period of time, that I thought I'd just quickly go through them and explain what I did wrong, and perhaps why I did it wrong, and hopefully what the solution will be to fix the stupid problem that I've made for myself. So we'll start off in fact with one of these foot legs, and it's actually this one here. And normally these are foot legs that have these paint protectors or stone protectors, whatever, right there to protect the chrome of the stanchion, and they're a right pain to get off. So what I've done is I just took my hacksaw and cut it off, prised it off, and there it goes. And the first one I did, no problem, it came off without a hitch. but for some reason, maybe I wasn't paying attention, I was tired, I was hot, I was sweaty, I don't know, whatever, but I kept on hacksawing through this thing for a bit too long. And what I did was, I've left a mark, quite a deep mark, in this fork leg, which is very stupid of me, and it's not even at the back or on the side, it's right at the front where it's going to be quite visible. So I'm not sure you can see that. I might actually give you a little close-up later on. So when I saw that, I was kind of annoyed to say the least, but once I calmed down, had a cup of tea, I had a solution, and it's over here. And what I've got here is, where are we? Moto TP metal putty. It's basically filler made to fill up metal. So mix a little bit of that up, plenty of hardener, whacked it on there, and I've been carefully rubbing it down, and now hopefully I can't feel it anymore. So once the primer's on there and the paint's on there, you'll never know. But thankfully I'm painting this, so it won't be a problem. But there's my first stupid error. And so moving on to my second stupid error of the day, although to be fair I might have done this yesterday, and that is that when I was test fitting the headlamp and the cockpit fairing to the front end, I didn't pay attention, and I had that cockpit fairing on, off and on, off and on, off and on several times, and during that time I managed to chip the paint, the fresh paint, on the lower yoke there. And so I guess this tough spray paint isn't quite as tough as perhaps I might have thought it was. But then again, it is just spray paint, and all I've got to do is take all this off, respray it, and then put it back on again. It's not the end of the world. But now moving on to the third and last cock up of the day, which really did make me swear, I'll tell you, when I found out what I'd done. So let's go look at that now. And that third mistake I made today concerns the swing arm. And no, it's not about the bearings or the sleeve or anything like that. And it's a bit dark now, so you probably won't be able to tell what I'm talking about, but I'll try and explain. When I was knocking in the bearings, obviously you've got to have this thing on its side, and you're using quite a lot of force. So I used the foam I've got here and some wooden blocks to hold the swing arm in the right orientation, nice and secure. What I didn't realise was that somehow these foam pieces and maybe the cardboard have got dirty. And okay, they're a bit dirty, but I didn't think they were that dirty. And what's happened is one side of the swing arm has got roughened up, it's got damaged. The powder coat has got scuffed up. Now, I don't think the light's good enough for you to see it, and even if it was, it's difficult to see. But right here where I'm rubbing my fingers, it feels really rough now, and in daylight you can tell straight away, because this is all shiny and this is not. This is quite dull, and I cannot fit this to the bike. It's just, you know, it stands out far too much. So I thought, oh, what shall I do, what shall I do? So my first thought was get a big sticker, a cool looking sticker, and put it on there. You know, I'm sure there's lots of cool stickers I can find, so that's an option. But I'm not keen on stickers because they look great when they're fresh and new, but give it a year and they don't look so good after that. So I googled it a little bit, and I did remember seeing that it's possible to buff powder coat to take out any orangey peel finish that it might have, although in my case Triple S are so good you don't get that orangey peel finish. And at the end of the day, it is paint, so I thought, oh, okay, it seems like you can treat it like paint and perhaps get some cutting compound, get stuck in there, and maybe it'll come back up nice and shiny again. If that doesn't work, I can then go to plan B, which is to use very, very fine wet and dry sandpaper, which is like 3000 grade. Again, go over it, smooth it off, and go back to the rubbing compound and finally polish. And sure enough, this is such a thick finish, a really thick coat, far thicker than paint would be. So I think that's possibly what I'm going to do. But at the time, I was so annoyed. The air was blue, and which brings me to the question. Let's go and find somewhere I can just leave that nice and safe. Which brings me to the question: why did it happen? 3 mistakes inside of 2 hours. And I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, yeah, the reason is because I'm bloody hot. I'm hot and sweaty and uncomfortable. I'm working on the floor a lot because I've got no lift or anything like that, and I've hurt my knee yesterday, so when I kneel down it's quite painful, to say the least. So I'm in pain, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, I'm tired. Not a good combination for trying to do delicate work and trying to pay attention as you work from one thing to the next. And the final reason is because I was rushing. I want to get this damn bike on its wheels. The wheels have gone off for tyres. I'll get them tomorrow. I'm getting Avon tyres on it, and they didn't have to be stopped this morning rather. So the tyres will arrive tomorrow morning. I'll go and collect them, pay for them, bring them back here. So I'm really keen to get those forks finished, painted on the bike, then we can get it on its wheels at last. And of course, you combine being hot, tired, slightly in pain with rushing, and obviously things go wrong. So I'm not sure if there's any sort of lessons to be learned, but the answer is, when you're in that sort of situation, just stop, go off, have a cup of tea, have a break, and just accept it ain't going to happen. And what I should have done was, first time it went wrong, the first error I made, said, right, okay, I made an error, just stop. I'm angry, I'm annoyed, I'm irritated, I'm hot, I'm sweaty. Just stop, leave it for another day. It doesn't matter if it's a day or two late, because I'm only going to make more mistakes, which is actually what happened. I did 3 mistakes in 2 hours, which I know I do make mistakes. I make errors and design errors and so on, but it's not often I make, you know, 3 stupid mistakes in such a short time. But anyway, so there's a lesson learned. Yeah, so I wasn't going to tell you about that, but I thought, yeah, I will, because, you know, it sometimes might seem that everything goes well, there's never any problems, and if there's a problem we just sort it out and it's all smooth sailing, but believe me, it never ever is. And in fact, I might make a video about this problem and about the, what shall I call it, the frustrations of a project, and why you get frustrated, and what the key sort of points are that cause frustration and annoyance. Because I do know there's like 3 of them that I can think of straight away, 3 things. So I think I might make a video about that at some point in the future. But right now, it's 9:30. I've got a cup of tea. I've got to finish off cleaning up those fork legs and hopefully get some paint on it before I finish for today. So yeah, that's that. So all I can say is, yeah, we all make mistakes and we're only human and these things happen. But hopefully, fingers crossed, I do have a solution for each of them, so it's not the end of the world. So on that note then, we'll end it for today.